He was born on January 8, 1942 in England. In the year 1949, he was enrolled at St. Albans School. At the age of 21, he was diagnosed of a motor neuron disease, which is called amyotrophic lateral sclerosis. In spite of this killing disease, he completed his PhD at the age of 23 on astrophysics. This motor neuron disease gradually paralyzes and eventually kills an individual. In 1974, he was inducted into the Royal Society, a worldwide fellowship on scientists, and in 1979, he was appointed as the Lucasian Professor of Mathematics, a chair held once by Sir Isaac Newton. In 1985, he lost his voice and he cannot talk. He continued his studies on black holes and astrophysics, and in 1998 came an epoch-making bestseller, A Brief History of Time. He continued his studies on black hole, Hawking radiations, and other advanced features of physics. On 14th March 2018, he peacefully left this earth, the day when Albert Einstein was born. Very good afternoon and a warm welcome from Asian College of Teachers to this very special show, Special Education, a Guide for Teacher and Parents. This is Shaunak welcoming you to this Facebook Live show of ACT. Like we know what we spoke about is about the famous scientist, Dr. Stephen Hawking. Like Dr. Stephen Hawking, who was just given 2 years to live, and he continued relentlessly his studies and research, we have many people who are suffering from similar kind of disorders, problems, but in spite of this, the fervor and zest for life have kept them living on. In order to know more about those people who are continuing their struggle and their achievements, we have with us Dr. Rita James, joining directly from Bangalore. Well, Dr. James is the founder of Asha Kiran Trust, founded in 1993. She is the PG diploma holder from British Open University and has been in special education, teaching and mentoring for more than 25 years. We welcome Dr. James heartily to this show. Welcome, Dr. Rita James.
Thank you so much. My pleasure.
Thank you, Dr. James. So, well, Dr. James, as you know, I've been speaking about Stephen Hawking, a famous scientist who, in spite of the killing ALS disease, continued his studies. So, I would just like to ask you a question that special education, if you take 20 years or 25 years back, definitely has shown a lot of change. A lot of advancement has taken place.
Yes.
But has there been a market change in the attitude of the teachers now that we deal with a larger community? Do you find any change in terms of attitude with the teachers? Your views, please. I would request Dr. James, your phone, if you can put it in silent mode, because there's a call incoming. Yeah, this is fine. Thank you.
Yes, there is lots of change in the attitudes of teachers. File back almost 25 years back, we hardly used to get any special educators. But these days, especially the young people, they are getting lots of interest in teaching these very special children and the young boys and girls. So there's a remarkable positive change, especially even to do the diagnosis. Now we have very much young psychologists, therapists, so that these children can be taken care early in life. So I'm very glad to see the positive changes. Yes.
Okay. So talking about this change, well, I would like to ask you, Dr. James, what would you consider to be the significant factor that contributed to the change in the mental attitude of the teachers? Is it the awareness that it is concerned, or people are more, I would say, want to go into this kind of an education? What could be the contributing reason?
Yeah, one is surely the awareness, but most teachers or the interns who come to our school, Asha Kiran, the first question, that's what I ask, why have you come here? It's not an easy job, but yes, fulfilling. So either one or the other, they do have some connection with a special adult, either the neighbor or the family member or something. Most of them, they come from that. And I think the number is very fast growing of these in our communities. So the awareness and even the numbers and the facilities are there to be trained. See, before in art, I could not get anything in our country. So I studied outside. But so that is a so that's where I will appreciate acts training these special educators, because there are centers for people to learn. It's not that people didn't have empathy before, they did, but they didn't know what to do.
Right. Absolutely. Thank you very much. Yes, indeed, we from Asian College of Teachers, we are not only having courses, but as you know already, that in Bangalore, we have gone forward, we have met people, and we are trying to, raise a kind of an awareness. Dr. James, this brings to a very common curiosity, which I would like to ask you. See, when, as you told, that when you ask the students or the candidate that this is not at all a very easy job, and they have come across in order to handle a very, I would say, a difficult and a challenging atmosphere. Now, in general, what I found is that distinctly there are two kinds of job role, if I consider, for a special educator. One is a special educator as a whole, that you are a special educator. One is as a shadow teacher. Now, mostly the viewers who are watching with us, I would like that, because you are the right person, so I cannot hold myself asking this question, that if you can throw some light, especially around the distinction and the specialities that a shadow teacher and a special educator should have.
If you honestly ask me, I will not agree with shadow teachers, because I think our main aim is to make the kids independent, and sometimes the shadow teacher, if they really play their good role, then the child may become, most of the time, what happens in some of the areas, it's become like a job. So if the child becomes independent, my job is gone. So otherwise, the shadow teacher and special educator, they are at par, I will say. If I have to train a child one-to-one, like a shadow, I should have all those skills what a special educator has. Otherwise, I cannot teach a child in the right way. Just to give you an example, parents allowed, and then we kept a teacher. So the child was unable to write. But so every time the child is unable to write, the shadow teacher wrote for him. Instead of training the child, the shadow teacher did the job, which is not the shadow teachers. But then we found she was not properly trained. So I will not distinguish between a shadow teacher and a special educator. They both should be trained well. How to train a
Okay.
child.
So in one way, you are telling that if you are making the writing on as a shadow teacher, you're not, obviously you're not doing a good job. I have seen that when, say, for example, on a typical classroom session, when you open the door and the teacher walks in and you have children around, would you have any distinctive disability factor that you distinguish between a male and a female? I mean to say that do the male students or the children have any kind of a disability which the female people don't have, or anything in common, or which is specific to a particular gender?
I think nowadays for autism, we have more boys than the girls. Same thing with ADH. We have more boys than the girl. And in girl, if you take a disability as a whole. So there are more boys than the girls. It is one third and two third. One third boys and the two thirds girls. Yes. Sorry, one third
Okay, so
girls and two third boys. I'm sorry.
okay,
There
fine.
is a
So
distinction. Yes.
okay. So in terms of disability, you are telling that autism particularly is more into boys recently than into the females, and
More boys
ADHD.
than
Now,
girls. Yes. Yes.
more boys than girls. Now, as far, because you have been dealing with this area for such a long time, 15 or 20 years back, if I consider a kind of a study, did you find during that time there is a change
Yes.
in terms of autism, more in women than in men, or how it is? It was.
Can you repeat it, please? The number you are asking. It's the same. I
Yes.
think the more boys than the girls. Yes. It's the same. The
Okay.
same way it's growing.
It's going. So I won't ask you any specific reason, but in case that if you just shed some light, like what is the reason that boys do get autism, prone to autism more than women?
I think you don't have to go to the genetic studies. I think they say the X
Okay.
chromosome factor. I'm not much about that. We have to go in detail about the genetic thing because
Okay.
nowadays lots of studies being done about that. Yes.
Okay. Okay. If may I ask you another question that in an inclusive classroom, which is nowadays becoming very common, and even ACT, we are trying to get into inclusive classroom. If there is an autistic child, what would be your guideline? What would be your advice? How to deal with an autistic child in an inclusive classroom for a particular teacher? What would be your guideline, or what would you like to see?
See, I will even before you can take a child with autism or any other disability. The first thing is most of the time we all focus on the child. We forget there are other inclusion means everybody takes the equal part. So even
Right.
when I get some questions, they say, "How will you deal with child with autism?" Nobody asks, "How will I deal with the whole class?" No, include
Okay.
is its part. Everybody has different needs. So number one, what I do it is not just the teacher has to be aware. It is the classmates. They also have to be aware. So before I put a child with autism in a class, I will tell a little bit about the students. This child is like this, not in a negative sense, but in a positive thing. But he behaves like this. It's not a misbehavior. You all have to learn to accept him. And so, in a simple way, I'll tell you, we had a girl who had this behavior of pinching. And so she'll go in, we told them, but she pinches only when she's excited. We did our study and we knew that. So we taught the children, say, when she's very happy, very excited, she pinches. So instead of to keep telling her, don't pinch or run away or bully her, can you just give her a high five and say, I love you? And we trained all the kids. And very soon that pinching habit went away. So I think the training of the
Mhm.
kids is very important, training of the teachers, and I do up to the level of even the support staff, the drivers or the cleaning staff, or if they're very young children, even to taking them to the toilet, them. All those needs the little bit of awareness and training. They are children like any other child, but they should be handled in a very gentle way. So,
Right.
uh,
I have a quick question coming up. In fact, it was in my agenda. It's good that
yes, is
Vishaka Singh
autism
is
curable?
listening.
Yeah, no,
Yes. So
no.
what are you?
It's a it's a condition. I want to clarify it. It's a condition. It's not a disease. So the way we look at a child with autism, please understand, it's a condition. It's not a disease that I can cure or anybody can cure. We can learn to
So
live with it. We can train.
mhm. So my question, Dr. James, obviously would be if you can give us a clarity between a condition and a disease.
It is a, like a, as I said, it's a lifelong. I will take again. It is the autism, and maybe nowadays we have corona. The corona disease
Right.
is a viral infection. It's a disease, which it takes time. Every disease has a time period that during this much time it can be treated and handled. But autism is like a condition where it's already by birth, and most of the conditions are by birth, maybe diagnosed later, but it is mostly it's by birth, and then it can be lifelong. We can only train a child or an adult, but can't be cured.
Okay. So, Dr. James, what I can get from your what you told is that autism, say for example, if I take it as a classic case, it might be present within me also. For
Hmm.
example, now the thing is that when it
Yes,
goes,
yes, yes,
yeah. So my question is that when it goes up to a certain extent or up to a certain degree, we tell them that okay, you need to go to a special
yes,
school or you need a doctor, etc. May I ask you what would be the
yes,
common parameters or the areas in which individual, or rather even the parents, because our topic is education both to teachers and parents, would the parents would come to know here is
yes.
my child who has got a condition. I would like to emphasize on your fact who has got a condition. It is not a disease, and it has gone up to a certain extent, and
No,
now
no.
I should be. Yeah. So,
Hmm.
what would be the areas in which a teacher or rather the parents would come to know?
See, again, it is awareness, and nowadays there are courses even for the parents to write, especially for autism. It comes with a very sudden shock because the child is perfectly okay, maybe 2.5 years of age, and maximum 3, and then suddenly the starts coming out. It's a real shock for the parents. So, is the one thing is awareness, and then it's not degree. Again, if the early intervention is done, then child can be really handled. But again, autism is a spectrum. It's a, I'll say, a ocean. Just to summarize in few words, it's very, very difficult. It has lots of behavior issues. Children may be verbal or non-verbal. There may be behavior issues. There are lots and lots of things. So, but taking a child as a whole, right from early childhood, the moment the child is diagnosed, the thing is nowadays we are getting diagnosed pretty early, but parents sometimes still go for inclusion rather than settling the child, which is very good. But we don't have good preschools where a child can be integrated or inclusion can be done. So I think it varies from child to child. Even place, we get lots of students from outside where they say we have nobody to train us, nobody to teach my child. What do I do? So it's a very difficult thing to tell, but it's only depending on start treating the child like any other child, but child needs support. If the child is not talking, start the communication different way. So I will look at all areas of development, but treat the child as much as possible like any other child. Meet the child's special needs.
Right. Thank you for clarification. Dr. James, we have a quick question from Sudarshana D. She's asking, hello, madam. How do one encourage parental involvement in student learning who is in special in nature? Parental involvement in student learning
Yep.
who is special in
Yes.
nature.
Parents play a very, very important role in bringing up the child. I will say again, like it's an old saying, especially the mother or the she's a first teacher. But with children, yes, that's right. Like we train mothers of maybe 2.5 years of old students, so they are good. But I have found, especially because it's not an easy job to bring up a child with autism. So, like any other, when the kids go, many schools want parents to be with the child, which I usually don't allow. There are many times the child is all the time sticking to the mother, and the mother becomes a teacher rather than a mother. So I always tell my moms there is a very thin line between a mother and a teacher. I can get another teacher, but I'll not get another mother for the teacher. So strike a balance. You have to train, yes, but strike a balance being a mother and a teacher.
Sure.
I hope
Excellent
I'm
words, Dr.
making my,
Prem.
so it really happens. I want to give you one example because the one mother, the child grew up with us, but he was only alone with the mom all the time. Mom will come and take and teach. And one day when the child grew up, he got so fed up with the mother, and one day he just locked her. Then she had to call and have to intervene it. So it's a very thin line. But as I said, moms, yes, out of their instinct, I'll say the child, they really work hard, really. But there is a place for a mother, and there is a place for it. And the teacher to teach like a mom, not like a teacher teacher.
Right. Absolutely. I think there is another question coming up from Sucheta Nagar. She is asking, how far is theoretical knowledge important in handling special kids? I think, Dr. James, you understand that the background
Important
of
in
this question.
handling.
Yeah, because we there are people who are into theoretical knowledge
Yes, yes, yes,
and
yeah,
not the practical part. So she is asking that how far
yes.
theoretical knowledge is important.
See, I think theory knowledge is important, but if it is not backed by the practice, I will say it's very dangerous. It's really dangerous just to have a head knowledge and not to do. Again, I'll give you an example. We had this year in the beginning, we had appointed a very experienced means a very well qualified MSc special educator but she couldn't even work for a month. She couldn't handle the behavior of a special child. She says, I will only teach one to one, I will not teach even 2 or 3 kids. And she left the job. She had a very good knowledge, very good marks, everything top class, but she could not do the job. On the other hand, I have some teachers who maybe just PU, they've just done the 12th standard and they're so good in handling. So some people I train them on a day-to-day basis in one skill and they really help these children. So I think it has to be both backed by each other, not just even practical, but it's both. I will not just say, oh, I have only practical and no theory or theory or practical together.
I think that what you told is wonderful, that there is a very thin line of difference between a mother and a teacher. So if a mother can strike a balance
Yes,
between a mother and a teacher, I think that is the best thing to do. Just to remind everyone who is joining a little bit
yes,
late, we are talking with Dr. Rita James, who is joining us directly from Bangalore, and we are in conversation with her talking about special education, how the teachers and the parents would work, and the advices. Coming to the next question, Doctor, I would like to ask you that we know that students with ADHD have a general, they lack to solve problems. They tend to think the solution either it is black or it is white. So, can you cite an example from your experience that a typical ADHD case and how we can solve it?
see
Suchita
again
has already
ADHD
expressed.
kids again I think. Yeah, so there are like they have given like a 3 categories, and now I think from last year somebody has before wrote to me about ADD. So that thing is totally gone now. We don't use that word, but there are 3 categories like ADHD. One is the hyperactivity, another is the lack of concentration. So in some cases, the child may be labeled or diagnosed at ADHD. He may not be at all hyperactive, or or vice versa. So it varies from child to child. But again, I'll give you one example of a child who was very, very hyper. So the first thing is what the child's inside going, why the child is fidgeting, while the child is not sitting, we really need to discover and let the child express rather than say, sit down, don't jump, don't do this. So in my vocabulary, I tell every teacher, every mom, don't say don't do it, say what to do it. So the first thing with the ADHD child, if you could find out, relax it. So this girl was there who loved to dance. So before anything, we had given her a corner. Okay, just loves to jump and do a little bit. We'll give her time to relax, and we taught her to say when you're doing some. I really don't know what happens in their physiological body, but they're able to express. So she said, "I want to dance." Another boy he said, "I want to jump." So we had made a circle they could do for a short while and get back. But and so if they have a problem in concentration, I will do I think somebody is asking for assessments. I will do in a very short form. Like if another child is writing 4 questions at a time, to this child, I will give only one if the child has a problem for both concentration as well as sitting. But there are some children I have found who stand, they can write better than sitting. So I will give them the comfort posture or the furniture to sit. Many times I have students, they have a very comfortable, their own chair, and parents bring from home to the school that my child feels comfortable here. Or some boys and girls, we have kept banks. They relax there. So you need to first thing find out the comfort of the child before even you do any assessment. Even you and I will not answer something I'm not comfortable. Make the child comfortable. Learn about the child. And this was another child who hated to write with the pen. So I was given advice. I'm talking years back when doctor gave me the advice. Put a colored pen in front of the child. You pick any color and write. I don't care whether you write with pencil or pen. Or some children don't want to write. Find a way of expression. So there is lots of creativity has to go, not just for ADHD, for any child. And then have a very systematic routine. The child must know the routine, otherwise they go crazy. They really go crazy. And give short
Got
breaks.
it.
Even
Thank you for the
online
analysis.
classes we are doing with those children. Yeah.
Yes. We have got a
Yeah.
pertinent question
Knows
coming
the
up from
spelling, but while
Gagandeep.
writing, yes.
Yes.
But
How
while
can we help
writing made
kids who
mistake, how
lose
can
the
we help that? Yeah. Yeah. So now again, the LD kids, what is their main issues? We need to understand. They are very good in oral. The problem comes in writing, right? So one child has given me a very good, as I say, I want to get from the child. So this is the version of a LD child who said, "Ma'am, between the CPU and the monitor is gone. That's why nothing is coming on the monitor." I hope you understand. He says, "I am in my head. I know everything, but when I want to write, it doesn't come." So if it is, but you have to go through whether many times we say you're lazy, you're not able to do, but it's a genuine problem. Don't have a picture. It's like a web in their minds. So I will do with 1 or 2 kids. You can record. You can record. Nowadays, if you are speaking, it comes. Try some way rather than forcing if child is unable to do. Use technology. If not, somebody can do a scribe if it's a genuine problems. But if it is, well, most of them have genuine problem. If it's a child with LDD, confirm. So I will give another way rather than just do objective types, multiple choice, where they don't have to write too much.
Got it. We have another question coming up from Satorupa Dasgupta. She's asking that is there any difference between learning disability and learning difficulty?
Okay, nowadays we don't even use those two terms. It is called special learning difficulty or specific learning difficulty. See, it's learning difficulty is a huge umbrella. Under that, we have very specifics. So we really need to find one disability leads to another. Another very classic example I'll give you. I got a girl from a very big school in Bangalore. She has only very specific learning difficulty in spellings. She could not learn spellings. And so she was thrown out of the school. So we discovered that and we trained her accordingly. So it is a specific learning difficulty, but there is nothing. Learning difficulty is umbrella, and under that you have very specific learning difficulties. It's spelling, it can be maths, it can be drawing straight line, which is so easy for us, but some people do have. So dysgraphia we call it, dyscalculia we call it, so there are dyslexia we call it. So it's a different areas.
Okay, ma'am, we have another question coming up. This is really interesting. Alukananda is
Maintain
asking
a
how.
positive relationship with a frustrated or angry parent. My again thing, I'm not a medical doctor, but if you go to a medical doctor, they don't give you a tablet or medicine without knowing why. So if a mother is frustrated, a mother is angry, I would like to know what is the cause. There are many reasons. So I don't want to just take it for granted that this child is the cause of mother's frustration or anger. As I said many times, it's the very thing is mother is so anxious that my child is not doing well, or I have a special child. They're comparing, easily compare their children with outside or even within siblings, or she is not accepted by the family members. That our culture is sometimes very cruel. So without knowing the reason, I cannot say it. But only thing I say, even to the moms also say, they have to take time for themselves. Many times the moms give and give and give, but they have no time for themselves. So if I keep emptying my bottle of water, I'll have nothing left and I'm going to go thirsty. So first thing is to really find out what is the cause and then work backward.
Right. Thank you for the clarification. I have two important things to ask you because we are really waiting because you are the right person to know. First, what I would like to ask you that individualized education program (IEP). This is what would you? Is this a legal document or it is a court law? And if you let us know, throw a little bit more light on IEP.
In a simple way, in our country till now, IEP, I will call it a roadmap for a child.
Okay.
For us, mainly we do it for special children. For me, it's the way we follow it. But in the West, it's really a legal document and lots of work goes in that. But I think India has in that area a long way to go. And as I studied there, so I know how much time they prepare. There it's a very easy saying to say, if you don't do this, I'll sue you. But I don't think, we are thankful, I think we are not that much in India. That does not mean we don't do the quality. So according to me, IEP is a roadmap for the development or the education of the child, and it should be done in consultation with the parents and the family and all the professionals who are involved in the education of the child. Just to give our example, suppose a new child comes, the child may need occupational therapy or physiotherapy or maybe speech therapy, behavior therapy. So we bring all these therapists together and especially even the admin side we bring, because they have to keep the records, maybe the coordinator and the special educator and even the other people, and then we sit together. First thing is, what do you want from your child? See, many times in Indian parents, straight I get this answer. I want my child to study ABCD, to read, write, even before a child knows how to wipe the nose, how to go to toilet. So first, hearing from the parents, but the first thing is I listen to the parents and then put them in right order and then write the goals. And according to me, every 3 months we re-evaluate. Now, because this, at least in present COVID time, what we did it, we made our own checklist with the goals. We didn't go personally with the kids. We did everything online. And when we prepared our report, the teacher, because most of the work is done by the parents, not by the therapist, even it's once a week or twice a week. So we made a column. Okay, the therapist or the teacher writes the report. According to me, child can do this. So we asked the parents, do you agree with this? Because now child is at home, child is coming to school. So I was very happy. So every 3 months we do that now. Again, for the next month, we are going to do that. So we keep. So it's, for me, IEP is a roadmap, really, which is done with consultation with all the professionals and the parents.
Thank you. Before we close down, we are coming to the end of this session. We'll take a quick question. Sudarshana is asking, since you're talking about IEPs, can you tell me, as a special education teacher, why do you feel that IEP meetings with your students and parents are so critical?
It's very critical, otherwise we'll go into different directions. See, we have to see, if we are teaching not just the special child, any child, it's a venture together. It's not that school is not a dumping ground for any child. That, okay, you just take and teach my child. No, to me, a teacher and a parent is like the two wheels of a cart. We have to run together. It's so critical. If any of us don't do a job properly, the sufferer will be the child. So keeping the welfare of the child in mind, I think it's very, very critical. We take the parents' consent, and parents understand what school is doing. School understand what the parent is doing. So I think the burden is shared equally. It's nobody is higher or lower.
Thank you. Before we come to the end of the session, Dr. James, you have been, know that what special education, the courses which Asian College of Teachers we are running. So what would be your opinion? Like currently with this COVID-19 situation, when almost we are paralyzed in terms of coming to classes and dealing with kids, what could be the courses and what could be the possible career options that a special educator can look upon?
I think special education have to look another career. There is actually now lots of need. Yes, in the beginning we struggled, but I will tell you there is no need to change any profession. Special educator have lots of jobs to do, because there are parents, like I have a request right now on my table. Parents are in Calcutta actually, and they want child, because they say my child is ready to learn. Can you just do one-to-one?
Okay.
So I have to find a teacher for that child. Yeah. So I don't think we can still do it. It is no substitute for coming to school, but I think the best, and now we have to prepare the way. The only difference between a mainstream school and special, we really have to do. I wish I could show you what the teachers are doing daily. The job is doubled. I think before they were never done so much to prepare the aides, what they're doing now. Because we have to show every day. Otherwise, we can do so many things. But so I don't think there is any need. I don't feel like that.
Aluka is asking a question, I think, which you already have. Yeah.
according to RCI, it's there, but they're not making that easy for the people to get. I am RCI, recognize, okay, which I did more than 25 years back, but that level, what is the need today is not coming. I really don't know, because I tried my all the teachers to get, but there is not facility so that we can get it. If it's online, we get quality education, be the first one to go for it. But yeah.
Thank you, Doctor. I think that if we can summarize today's discussion, we are really, from Asian College, we are thankful. What I would like to make a note to the viewers who are watching, we need to be aware about the what is called a disease and what is called a condition. I think that is very thin, very subtle difference. Number two, a mother really plays an important role. If there is a striking balance between the role of a mother and that of a teacher, I think that becomes very crucial, and that becomes very important as far as the teacher is concerned. Coming to the part, autism is a condition, so it is not a disease. So there is no point in getting it cured or something. IEP, as you told, yeah, yes, it is a legal document, and with the as the time processes, IEP becomes very critical. You told us a lot about the autism and the ADHD part and how we can take care of that. Also, you have shown us a light in which we can see that there is a bright career as a special educator. We indeed got a lot of candidates from Australia. Recently, I took an interview of David Bourke. He is a special education. A lot of people, yes, indeed, that a lot of people are encouraged nowadays, especially the new generation, who has that kind of patience to carry forward with this kind of a important and a difficult topic to deal. From Asian College of Teachers viewpoint, a heartfelt thanks, Dr. James, that you really took out time from your busy schedule, and we really learned, because I always thought that this is something very specific, if not technical, and it needs a proper mentor or a teacher like you who can show us some light. Thank you, Dr. James. Thank you for sharing time and enlightening us about the autisms, about special education, everything. What I feel is that disability is all within us. I think that we all are disabled.
Yes.
So let us not think that disability is something which you point out that you have. Rather, we all have those things. Let us embrace, let us love, let us give the comfort zone what Dr. James told to the students, and let us make the upcoming future to the people or the children a better place to live. Like we are praying every day so that this COVID-19 situation is over. Why don't we also embrace? Why don't we get around those things which we are trying to point out, and let us make this world a better place to live? Thank you, Dr. James. We really thank you for your time. This is Shaunak Bhattacharya signing.
I really enjoyed it.
Thank you, Doctor. This is Shaunak signing off from Asian College of. Stay safe, stay happy, and stay tuned, because we are not done yet. We are coming up with yet another Facebook Live session. Bye-bye. Happy Navratri and stay safe.